this. Welcome to this episode of Lead with Love. I'm so honored to have with us John Gray today. It's a big day for me. Thank you for joining us, John.
I am so happy to be with you. Your enthusiasm wakes me up. Not that I need to be woken up, but it's very quite wonderful.
Yeah, it's early where you are. I'm the one who needs to be woken up. It's nighttime. So John, amazing to have you on the show. You're a big inspiration to me. I'll do an introduction if you don't know who John is. Most people do, but you're the author of the very, very well-known Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. And US Today listed it as the 10 most influential books on this quarter of a century, something like that. But anyways, Huge fan. And I just love hearing you talk about this subject. It really is your wisdom. And yeah, I have tons of questions for you, but
okay, let's go with it.
Let's go. Yeah, let's give a little introduction to yourself, just in case somebody doesn't know who you are. And
well, you know, I wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and that was 30 years ago. I've been teaching this almost 50 years. And that book made it really big all around the world, probably over 50 million copies now, actually way more. But my most recent book is most relevant to today. Yeah. You know, today, women are more independent, more powerful, more influential, more ambitious. What we'll call that, and we'll get into the biology of this as well. And then we'll look about, you know, how to have a better marriage. But that's called Beyond Mars and Venus, because we are different now than we were 30 years ago. We're different now than we were 50 years ago. A major change is taking place in the world, which we could just say it's heralded by women being free to be independent, men being free to be dependent. We have way more men addicted to drugs today. We have men, they want life to be easy, you know, they don't want to be soldiers. You know, the old-fashioned thing. I grew up in Texas, you know, and in the 60s, I grew my hair out like a girl. I was a hippie, demonstrated for peace, enjoyed free love, no commitment, you know, all just do what you like. You know, one of the rock and roll songs, which is do what you like, do what you like. It's like a mantra, which was men going to their female side. We don't always realize that, but when you're doing what you like to do, what you enjoy doing, you're actually making female hormones. That's why I can call it the female side, as opposed to the idea that gender doesn't exist. Of course it does. A woman's body needs to make more estrogen than a man's, and a man's body needs to make more testosterone than a woman. And when he doesn't make enough for his body type, he'll be depressed, he'll be irritable, he'll be angry. All those negative symptoms of men only occur when simultaneously his testosterone levels are low and his estrogen levels are starting to surge, or if he's having a big explosion and he keeps talking, his estrogen goes higher and higher. Now, this insight flies in the face of everything about psychology. I love psychology. I have a PhD in psychology. And yet, when it doesn't acknowledge the differences between men and women, it can be misleading. And the misleading part of it, particularly today, we're going to talk about emotional management and marriage. What a fun topic for me. I don't always get to just focus on that. But what we have to recognize is that women need to make in their body 10 times more estrogen in order to feel well-being. Or if they're feeling well-being, they're making at least 10 times more than a man makes when he's feeling well-being. And if she's going to be romantic and intimate, she's going to have 20 times more estrogen than a man. And of course, ideally, it's positive high estrogen, which is often experienced in an explosive orgasm. And if it's not an explosive orgasm, it's an explosive argument. It's all estrogen. And women need it so much, but if men become estrogen dominant, then they get angry. Most people think of men as an angry man has high testosterone. You would. Well, actually, when he's actually angry, his estrogen levels are surging and his testosterone levels are going down.
Men in prison have more testosterone, I've read, in general.
Men in prison. Yes, that's why they got in prison, is because but it didn't cause their violence. What caused their violence is when they don't have training. If you see, every man has his own baseline of testosterone. Now, mine doesn't even have to be that high. You can measure the shoulder width. I've taught in the prisons. Generally, all violent crimes with men typically are wide shoulder. The shoulders determine how much baseline testosterone they need. Okay. If their testosterone starts to drop, then it only drops when their estrogen levels start to go up. then they have more explosive power, so to speak.
Interesting. So estrogen is really the explosive power.
Yeah, well, but it's not the testosterone that does it. It's when the testosterone goes down and the estrogen goes up. That's when there's violence in men.
That the testosterone goes down. So E up and then T down.
That's right. And it's this real simple foundation. E up, T down makes men violent. E up, T down makes men passive, makes men lazy, makes men procrastinate, makes men grumpy, makes men irritable, makes men unable to bond with a woman and sustain and keep his word. Yeah. All the good qualities of men is when they have healthy testosterone for their body type. And so some body types require higher testosterone for well-being. These are the guys that, generally speaking, will do the dirty, dangerous, difficult jobs. They're your construction workers. You can look at them. They want to see what I can do, see what I can do. And the big ones, they want to go to war. I'll give my life for everybody. And then there'll be a parade for me. They'll build statues. I'll get my special cross, whatever it is. They'll go right into battle, because if he does that, he gets more appreciation. We always say the troops, how great they are and whatever, because they're willing to give their life. That's masculinity. Yeah. Firemen often have good shoulders and whatever. Why? They need to keep that testosterone up. So they have to have a job that has danger, that they're good at, and somebody acknowledges them. They save lives. People, if I can save your life, boy, you get a lot of appreciation. So men, if they don't feel they're being valued and appreciated, you can appreciate them, but if they don't feel they're being valued and appreciated, their testosterone starts to go down, their estrogen levels start to go up, they become either lazy or irritable or passive. They don't have the juice. And every married woman knows that's what happened at a certain point in her marriage. It was all that juice that a man has in the beginning, because he gets an extra boost of testosterone just because the relationship is new. And she gets an extra boost of estrogen just because the relationship is new. You see, when the relationship is new, dopamine levels, the brain chemical of motivation and pleasure and focus. See, you can go to a restaurant and know who's married and who's not. The single guy with the woman, he's looking right at her. The whole time it's like, when are we going to have sex? And when am I going to get laid? What's going to happen? Is a focus. Now, after you're married, you start sitting back and he'll be looking at his phone. He'll be looking at other things. He won't even look at her when he's talking. There's a tendency to stray away, because the dopamine levels, which give him focus, motivation, energy, and pleasure, is all about dopamine. That goes up. And when, for a man, dopamine goes up high, his testosterone follows. Okay, that's the passion. Okay, that's where the passion comes from. The sex, the making love, the motivation. Okay, he needs to have the testosterone. Yeah. Now, once the newness goes away, he doesn't get the free testosterone.
But he still has that very dangerous job, because it can be a danger zone to walk into your house with an angry wife, right? So you may be at the office. Doesn't that count as a dangerous job?
No, that doesn't count at all. I'll tell you why. Okay.
There's no dangerous jobs anymore. So all the firefighters have good marriages, but all the investment bankers.
No, they don't. They don't. What happens when they're firefighters, a high amount of them are even gay, but the others are basically drug addicts. This is a known thing. Policemen and firefighters tend to be, not all, some might have a relationship at home. They tend to do a lot of porn, a lot of sex with themselves, with other people. Monogamy is not really happening. And there's exceptions, of course, but that's the general trend when I talk to the firemen. When I talk to my gay men friends, my friend, he has sex with 10 other men in the evening. There's no monogamy at all, except he loves his partner, they're married.
Level up or what? So I thought this was for them to keep their testosterone level up. He does that. So it doesn't
always with a stranger. Okay. Yeah. Now, when you come home to a dangerous wife, if you don't feel confident, see, for a man, newness and danger stimulates dopamine. Familiarity stimulates serotonin. So you're familiar. It's not, you anticipate it. As soon as you anticipate something, it becomes routine. She's always complaining. She's always critical, explosive. Let's just assume that's the case. That doesn't make any dopamine. He already, well, that's the way it is. I'll just go have sex with somebody else.
Yeah.
You know,
Unknown. Yeah.
unknown is a big part of dopamine. So once you know someone, which is true intimacy,
But you
the
never know
intimacy
when she's
itself.
gonna be mad. You
What's
don't know
that?
when, but you never know when she's gonna be mad. You just know it's coming. Should stimulate
The problem, there's something called makeup sex, which is really great, but in the long run, it shuts a woman down because her being mad is a sign that her estrogen levels are going lower and lower. Negative emotions. It is estrogen, so she can get actually in the habit of being angry in order to get an estrogen supply. Because any emotion, that's what we're going to talk about, emotional management to save marriages. Not emotional management in men, it's in women.
Yeah.
In Men Are From Mars, I do an anatomy of an argument. It's always an unhappy woman about something.
Yeah,
And then a man thinks,
woman was
man
like,
gives,
he's doing this wrong, and his only thing was she thinks I'm doing everything wrong. See, I remember that.
if she complains, the complaining wife, the nagging wife, the angry wife, the cold wife, any of those things, the message he gets is he's not successful. So just to come home and see her, his testosterone goes down.
Unless she's happy.
Because he's not getting messages that he is successful in providing for her. And he also, remember, it's more about, am I successful? Do I know what to do? Because, what I teach men is that women are like you have to learn to surf the waves, okay? Women will tend to be really positive and suddenly their hormones go out of balance and they crash, okay? The wave crashes. And when the wave crashes, as it's crashing, men try to push you back up with logic and reason. Well, you shouldn't be upset. Well, I was late because of this. And well, I can't do that because of that. Why aren't you doing this? See, we will use logic to make your emotions, to point out that your emotions are irrational. Well, I don't need to point out my wife's emotions are irrational. I know they are. All negative emotions are irrational. They're not loving. And yet she loves me. So how can I believe that? But most men believe it. They think, oh my God, she doesn't love me. I know. It's kind of like if I was a plumber and I came to your house and you started complaining to me that the paint job on the walls was not any good. And I go, yeah, you got a crummy painter, but your plumbing works really well, doesn't it? See, I know my job is not to make my wife happy. That's just, everybody get that. My job is not to make her happy. My job is to make her happier. And if a woman's looking to me to fill her up for happiness, that's her job. And that's my job. I need to feel really good about my life and what I do. That brings my testosterone up. Then the point of the intimate relationship in the modern world, if you want to have harmony and great sex, so you can have harmony and just push down all your negative emotions, but you'll stop having sex like your parents and their parents.
Yeah, good point.
Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
Were so romantic because they died a day after they got married. Okay, the passion would have gone away. Passion goes away. And everybody's saying, can we have passion? And I say, yes, because I've done it. And I teach people how to do it. And once the passion is gone, how to rekindle it. But it's like you have a failing business. It doesn't turn over in one day. You have to understand how you're creating this. Each person in a relationship is responsible for the results we get. And when you understand that, then you can look at, how am I sabotaging the passion in my relationship? So what happens with makeup sex, without a doubt, if big words are expressed, women expressing their emotions out loud will give their estrogen a peak. But then when it comes back down, she's not happy anymore. It's not, see, what really builds estrogen in a woman is feeling safe. And a man who argues with you, a man who gets mad at you, negates your ability to feel safe with them. And then you can become addicted as a woman to complaining and getting upset. Yeah. Your brain literally goes into fight or flight. Now, for anybody, particularly, well, more so for women than men, but and this is shown that when women experience stress hormones, 8 times more blood goes to the emotional memory to remember bad things. And you forget temporarily good things. So it's like you forget how wonderful this guy is, all the good things, because your mind just looks at the negative. And it's hard to feel love at those points. You feel neglected, you feel resentful, you feel overwhelmed, you feel like I'm not getting what I need, it's unfair. All that conversation, your brain's listening to you, particularly if you speak it out. It's the worst thing to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And then if you do it to your partner, why would you ever complain to your partner? Because you want them to change. So first of all, nobody changes when someone is trying to make you change. And definitely nobody's going to change if
The
they don't
other
get what they
niner,
need.
shut up. Yeah.
Well, you have to learn to be positive, and then you have to learn to embrace your negativity. And the first step is to realize any negativity I have towards my partner is irrational. I mean, they could be late, be upsetting to you, whatever. That's your stuff to be upset. And life would be nicer if they would call you or come on time, or you can let them know. But part of a marriage is you have to accept the person where they are and trust they're doing their best, and you can get more. And if you're not getting more than you got in the beginning, it's your bad use for both sides.
Yeah.
You test the relationship out in the beginning. You say, okay, this is good enough for me. I'm happy with this. This is good. And then it will start going downhill because you don't have the skills to keep it up there and then make it even better. It takes skills to do it. The most important thing, just look at some of the old traditional ideas of gender. They're out of date, but there's truth there. When the woman is the princess, that means he loves her, and she's in distress because there's a dragon. He comes and slays the dragon. And then they have great sex. Now, later on, she becomes the dragon slayer. So he loves her, and there's a dragon. He says, oh, I'll take care of that. She said, oh, no, I can do it better than you. And so she slays the dragon. Do they have sex that night? No. Because what happened when she slayed the dragon is her testosterone went up and his went down. I have no value. I can't provide something that's necessary for her. So many couples today with ambitious, successful women, she makes money. And if she makes money or anticipates making money, then what does she need him for? See, need.
The loving woman that we're meant to be. Like we're born to
That's what he needs. That's what he, but she can't feel that part of her unless she feels he's the man I need and I can depend on. But as soon as you don't depend on a man for money and safety and security, you got government handouts. What do I need a man for? They even pay you to be single in America. I don't know about there, but if you're a single mother, you get money from the government. You know, why do I have to depend on him? Government will give me all I need.
Because as soon as I put my arms around him, I feel safe, right? So I still need that security and that safeness, but I still use the peeing in my pants method with the estrogen, because I still, get mad and get addicted to being mad. And but
okay, so there's an addiction to being mad. So the first thing to do is whenever you're angry with him, as a practical experience here, talking about what you feel produces more estrogen. But talking about what you feel with the intention to change somebody, okay, the intent to change is also making testosterone that keeps you from having a much higher level of estrogen. Because now you're and you also get less in your relationship, because as soon as you complain to a man, his testosterone goes down. Mm-hmm. So when I say that, well, we mean I can't complain. I say it's preferable not to complain. So let me tell you a story. So and then we'll come back to the anger thing, because that's a serious addiction and you can heal it. And I'll tell you how to heal it. But just a simple thing. When I say give up complaining, what is a complaint but a request? Okay, that's what it's a request. So, and telling him what he did wrong is not a request, and it only pushes his testosterone down, which means his motivation, his interest, and his love for you will be less. So you don't want to do that. So what do you do? How do I change him? If I can't complain, how do I change him? And one woman told me, she says, well, if I can't complain, what are we going to talk about?
I haven't tried to get that. No blaming, complaining, no pity parties. What's left?
What's left? Exactly. What's left?
Gratitude, responsibility.
But what is left? So first the thing is, when you complain, which is very common, is women want more. We all want more. There's nothing wrong with wanting more. Okay. So I want more. How do I communicate and how do I get more? Well, you have to ask for support. So
or give.
The only way you can ask is with complaining, then you'll always get less and less. So let me give you an example of what Bonnie does. Okay. Now I'm talking about Bonnie just in present time, but Bonnie has passed. So she died 3 years ago, but I am in a relationship now. I'm experiencing the same things I did with her. It's being with a woman. You're slightly crazy. That's okay. Men are slightly schizophrenic. We don't
understand ourselves. That's why we're explaining ourselves to you.
That's why you need to bring it out. That's right. That's right. I get it. But let me, when I say women are partly crazy, I also say men are partly schizophrenic. Okay. Because a man, one day he's just right there, so attentive, so loving, and next day he's ignoring you completely. And women go, what is going on?
Yeah.
And men have the same thing. One day she's so happy, next day she's like complaining about all this stuff. What did I do wrong? Why is it such a big deal to her?
What did you yesterday? Like, I always ask my clients, does the mess around the house matter after great sex? And they all say no. Like, huh? How could that evaporate? Biggest issue ever gone.
That's exactly right. So there's the right there. When women's estrogen goes low, when they're not feeling safe, and also depending, because if you have great sex, you feel like, yes, I've got the man, I've got it. Okay, there's a moment there you have that.
You give love and receive it.
You give love and receive. It's about making love.
Yeah.
Then in that place, you're not in a fight or flight situation. That's safe. When you're not in fight or flight, your brain doesn't look for danger. And dangerous problems, messy house. People will come and see it. What if they see that? So things become a big deal when you're in a fight or flight state. Now that's so interesting. Now, so when you're in that place, you have to accept this is part of me, which is irrational. Now, this was Freud's message, which has been thrown out as sexist, which is that negative emotions are overreactions. 90% of what upsets us is an overreaction. Now, the reason it went away, and I'm bringing it back, because when she's overreacting, you don't say to her, you're overreacting. See, that's dismissing it. It doesn't work. When you push a woman's feelings down, they get stronger. They need to come out. And the more I can't embrace those feelings, but I don't have to embrace them as logical. And men need to be logical. So logical is that if a woman has suppressed emotions during the day, and you could say a man as well, but see, when men are in testosterone land, there's no emotions to suppress. Women are always making estrogen and they're pushing it down and pushing it down. So it's a different reality that men and women live in. So women have way more.
It up. Get it.
Yeah, you're pushing it down. A 10% stress added to another 10% stress, another one. After 10 bad things happen today, you've got 100% stress, and now you left the socks on the floor, and you have 100% reaction to it. Rather than an appropriate reaction is, oh, bummer, honey, you left the socks on the floor. Would you please put them away? That's it. You just ask. Don't criticize, complain, and don't pick them up. Just say, honey, would you pick that up? Would you pick that up? Would you turn those lights out? Just start learning how to ask. And it's a training, because you've already trained him that you don't know how to ask except complain.
Because here's the deal. So 10 times I told him, but I told him in my head, and the 10th, or he didn't hear it, either or, right? I probably said it and he didn't hear it. And then when I say it the 10th time, he hears it as the first time. And that's when I get mad. So either way, probably I didn't say it.
Either way. But even, see, here's another thing that happens. Okay, let's take an example from my marriage. One of the things, I'm actually kind of a more messy person and she's not. Okay, so there's already going to be frustration for living with me, but there's a lot of benefits from living with me. I mean, she never have to worry about money. She has a husband who knows how to have sex. He's a good listener. He's affectionate. He's romantic, but he's messy. That's the price you pay. Life is always trade-offs. You get, all right. And messy guys, usually the more romantic, they don't care so much. I'm going to be myself. Okay. Anyway, but one of the things she always wanted, and eventually she got it, but it was, she'd say, first few years, we have our house is as big as a football field. It's crazy. It's 100 yards to walk somewhere. So as I'm walking through all these chambers and rooms and whatever, it's beautiful. But there's a light switches everywhere to get places. So I will walk through. I want to go get something from the kitchen, from the bedroom. I got to turn on all these lights, and then I'm watching some TV or whatever. And she comes in and she says, "You didn't turn out the lights, John. We have to turn out the lights. We have to turn out the lights. You have to turn out."
Meaning you. But what about one major switch somewhere that turns them all off? Like practical.
Any of that will turn me off. And in the beginning, it's not such a big deal. In the beginning, for her, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal to me because it's not a big deal to her. But she is telling me what I did wrong. Men forget any message that says what he's doing wrong.
The one where you can just clap and the light goes off.
Right. That's what I have in my bedroom. Okay. So now I'm walking through the room. So now she's asked me, reminded me 10 times, let's say, when I didn't do it. After 10 times, what happens in her brain is I've told him and he didn't do it. I've told him and he didn't do it. I told him and he didn't do it. It's a little thing to do. It's an easy thing to do. And he doesn't do it. Well, if he doesn't do an easy thing for me, he must not love me. Exactly. He must not value me. I must not be important to him. And I'm only asking a little thing, So how can I even trust that he'll do a big thing for me if my life's in danger? Now, of course, she knows, logically speaking, this is the guy who busts his ass for this lady, does so many things for her. And the little things I will tend to forget. And that particular one would just frustrate her. So after like 10 years in the marriage, she'd come in and say, you forgot again. Now, I wasn't forgetting all the time, but when I did, she always let me know.
Had that conversation, that dangerous conversation going on.
That dangerous conversation. So one day she finally figured this out. This is an overreaction. It's an irrational reaction. It doesn't mean John doesn't love me. It's a no big deal. The first time it happened, I happily turned the light out, but it would be nice for our electric bill if he would turn out the lights. And then she had that conversation with me. So I got solar. So now it's not even an electric bill. So then I said, we don't have to worry about it. We have lights on all the time. God does it. And then she says, yes, but we have to be a good example to everybody else and turn the lights out.
What about one major switch or remote control? So an app on the phone. What's the solution?
The solution was, see, when I started doing that, it became an act of love. Little things have a big impact on women. And men don't know this. And so what she did is changed her approach. Instead of making me a bad guy, what she did is she started noticing when I did turn out the light.
Good point.
And so I remember the day I was in the kitchen making myself a sandwich, and she poked her head in the door. She said, John, I've noticed that you've been turning out the light, and I just really like it. I love it. And sometimes you still forget. And it's not really a big deal, but I just want to remind you how much I like it. And walked out of the room. Do you see how different that stuck with me? I went, oh, well, I did the right thing. Okay. And then she did it again. And another time she did it again. And now, even after she's gone from this planet, I think of her every time I turn that light switch out.
Beautiful. I love that.
It becomes a way to give love because I got acknowledged for it. Same thing with hugs. I teach men, you need to hug a woman at least 4 times a day.
Yeah, we relax.
Stroke her head. Think of a woman like a cat. You got to stroke her hair. You got to touch her body, not sexual, just affection, and not too much, not too little, but every day. It's something you do all the time. I wake up in the morning, I give her a hug. If I didn't have sex, give her a hug. Then I say goodbye to her when she goes off to work, or I go off to work. I find her and I give her a hug, and I tell her where I'm going, tell her what I'm going to do briefly. And then these are all like, women have this GPS, they need to know where you are at all times. And that just makes them feel safe and comfortable. They also need to feel seen and heard. Finding her to give that hug is just as important as the hug. If she has to come to me and says, wait, I want to give you a hug, that doesn't make oxytocin raising her estrogen. It doesn't. It's when I look for her and I remember her. And at night, I come home from work, the kids all want to be with me. I say, where's your mother? And they now know, as soon as I come home, they say, mom's here, mom's there. Because the first thing I'll do is go find her and give her a hug. And it's not like I push them away. I can carry them the way, but when they were little, but she's number one. Women need to feel number one. This is why this whole laissez-faire, polyamorous, you can do that. Do as you like, and don't become the person you can become, the authentic person who's both masculine and feminine. And if you're a man, you have strength, you have steadfastness, you can listen, you don't get ruffled, you don't get upset about stuff, you're cool, calm, and collected. You're like a samurai warrior. You see, they never get ruffled. Why? Because they've been trained. They have a training. They've learned it's weakness to get angry. It's weakness to yell and scream. And it's weakness to interrupt. It's listen, hear. You see, when a man listens and then says, what else? Tell me more. What else?
Magic words.
He's penetrating into you. And when a woman asks men questions like, what are you feeling? It's terrible. Yeah. It's like, what are you, the man? You're trying to penetrate me? Forget it. And see, we don't understand the differences. A woman goes, well, I want somebody to penetrate me. So if I'm not getting it, I should penetrate him. No, you should tell him, I want to talk.
On my mind, because I would love it if he told me everything on his mind. Yeah.
It would seem lovable, but I tell you how many women today have these needy men who want to talk all the time. Women are like disgusted by them. And it is good to know. If I was teaching to men right now, I'd say to men, now women sometimes, they need you to speak first to sort of prime the pump to make it safe for them to speak. Because you see, if a woman doesn't want to talk, it's because she doesn't trust you, or she's mad at you, or you're not important to her. So there's a reason why she doesn't want to talk. For a man, generally the reason he doesn't want to talk is he doesn't need to talk.
There's no problem.
There's no problem. What's there to talk about? And why talk? Okay,
Yeah.
so so from his point of view, when he doesn't talk, her subconscious mind thinks, oh, he's not interested in me. So what I say to men, and I have to give credit to my daughter, Lauren, who came up with this. She teaches these ideas as well. It's in her class, how to get me time, for women to learn how to be happy without depending on a man. And then it's so easy for him to make you happier and you have a successful relationship. So, but she came up with this idea. Oh, what was the idea? I just forgot.
It happens.
It happens. What was the last thing I just said before Lauren? Do you remember?
You said, Jesus, I'm the one who passed midnight here, John.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, but I'm the youngest. I should remember.
It's okay. I'll come back to it. It will come back.
Come back.
We understand the how to emotionally manage, because actually I was going way off subject anyway. The emotional management is how you create vulnerability, and through vulnerability you can experience a lifetime of passion, because you don't have the newness of the dopamine. Once serotonin comes in, you have the comfort. Now there's no interest, no motivation on his part. He'll do less. As soon as the man makes a commitment even to you and you're starting to have sex, you see how he will start having less motivation, less focus, less interest in you. And then what you do to try to get it back as a woman, these are tendencies, is, well, let me give more. And when you give to a man, he becomes less interested in you. When you give him the opportunity to give to you, he becomes more interested in you. And that's that positive reaction to what he does, and minimizing negative reactions and recognizing that all your negative reactions are overreactions. They're overreactions. Even, imagine you're yourself. Who are you as a woman? You are the incarnation of love. You are happiness. You are joy. Whenever you're happy, whenever you're grateful, when you're appreciating, it feels so good. Why does it feel good? It's called being you. Now, for me, that's part of feeling good. But for me, what feels good is when I'm helping, when I'm solving, when I'm fixing, when I'm accomplishing, when I've seen my accomplishments. You see, that's what makes me feel great. And so you've got to have, and then I can bring together my female side and be in love and have great sex and be in a loving relationship and have good conversation and feel safe as a man that I can be successful. And a woman feels safe that he can be successful in meeting my needs. She has to know what her needs are. And her needs are not to get him to get in touch with what he feels. You have to prime this is back to what my daughter taught as she teaches men. You have to prime the pump sometimes with a woman. And the way you do that is called the lunch box, the lunch menu. You have to tell her what happened today. Like you just said, I want to know what he's thinking, what he's at, because you're feeling insecure. So you want to know. And then if he sends you positive messages, then even though he's not mad at you, then you can start to open up maybe a little bit more and more. And women don't know how to do that. As much as they think women are so emotional and everything, they're not able to do it when I get them in therapy until I teach them how to do it. This is my experience. So they think they can, because if you say to another woman, oh, there was so much traffic on the bridge, the other woman knows exactly what you're feeling. When you say there's so much traffic on the bridge to a man, he goes, there's always traffic on the bridge. What's the big deal? See, he's not going to connect with your emotion because he doesn't have the same perspective in life as you. But another woman, because she has the same perspective to a great extent, all you have to do is talk about surface things and she'll feel emotionally connected to you. I know just how you feel. I know just how you feel. So there's a connection there. Men are not going to feel that connection with you unless you reveal a deeper level of your femininity, not just the surface of there's traffic today. Go a little deeper. And a little deeper is, I was so frustrated. And why was I frustrated? I really wanted to get home in time. I was scared that if I didn't get there in time, I wouldn't be able to pick Lauren up. So she was like waiting for me. It was a whole conversation about that. I felt so bad when I finally got there. It was like late and I'm almost the last parent to pick her up. It was terrible. Now that's one way to share.
But the other will know that, but the men won't know that all that stuff is going on in our brain.
That's right. That's right. So women have to learn to be articulate, and it also helps her. Instead of like, when people are coming to me in therapy, they always, whenever they say, I always stop there. I know that's a button. Let's go. No, I don't know. Let's go. Tell me more about that. It's like when you say, it's something is coming up that I can't articulate. If you can't articulate it, then you're an animal. You can't articulate. It's the value to talking about emotions is you're connecting the prefrontal cortex to identify an emotion and then recognize that it's irrational and letting it go. But what happens if you don't identify an emotion, then you will always feel that somebody else is making you feel that way instead of somebody else is a trigger to get in touch with your own insecurities and your own feelings of inadequacy and your own unresolved issues about you. And this is not like something you can just know and then overcome. This is wiring. As when you're stressed, you have no choice. Free will only happens when stress levels are low. Anytime you're stressed, unhappy, frustrated, angry, bothered, not loving, not grateful, not happy, not joyful. If you're not those positive things, then you're being controlled by conditioning in your brain and you have no free will. And then you have just the habits you learn from your parents and what they did and what their parents did and their parents did. See, it all gets passed down all the way back to where we're monkeys.
You already know
raising your voice makes you a monkey. Now, there's times when you can be a monkey. For example, monkey females, when they're having sex, make a lot of noise in order to pull in other monkeys from a different gene pool, because you have a better offspring if it's a different gene pool. This is all nature's figured this stuff out.
She's having sex with one monkey, she's making noises to attract other monkeys.
Oh, others, yeah. Many monkeys come from everywhere. And then when she has her orgasm, what will happen is there's something called sperm competition, where when her body says this is the best DNA so far, then her vagina will open up and clamp. It will clamp onto the penis. And then as the monkey goes in and out, he pulls the other semen out so that when he ejaculates, he has no competition.
Interesting.
This is amazing. This is how you know. Women say to me, how do you know your wife's really having an orgasm? Because she clamps. There's a clamp that happens. It goes like this and clamps. And that is amazing. And what's interesting is when she clamps, then even if man's not that skilled, he'll last longer to build up his sexual energy in order to spray out that sperm. If it's loose in there, typically he doesn't get the clamp, which will allow him to keep going for a while longer and build up the intensity of it. Men are so feminized today that basically they last 2 or 3 minutes.
Or now, he was like a name man, never said what he was feeling. I would have wanted him to just once say what he was thinking about.
Is this your husband now?
It's actually ex-husband, but it's still all about him.
Okay, so here's, again, it's the lunch menu. You can ask for, hey, you have to be specific. You don't ask him what he's feeling. Never ask a man what he's feeling. That's his feminine side. What he's thinking is his masculine side. It's just what you ask. You ask for his feelings. You want to know what you said. You want to know what he's thinking, but you said, what do you think about the lunch? What do you think about your job today? What do you think about Bill? I heard that he did this and this. What do you think about that? You're watching TV together and somebody does something. Hey, let's put him. What do you think about that guy? What was he thinking? That's what Bonnie and I used to do. Always, we'd analyze characters. You say, okay, let's pause this. Now, what do you think? Also at a restaurant, I look at a couple, I go, what do you think he's doing? Do you think they're married? And do you think this? And how do you feel about that? Now we're in a conversation. You can always ask a man. Men love to be smart. What do you think about that? Just make sure that you never criticize his thinking. You don't have to agree with it. Just don't be disgusted by it or tell him he shouldn't think that. Just say, well, that makes sense. That's a good idea. Well, I hadn't thought about that. Let's talk about that a bit more. And then you can give your point of view without demanding that he agree with you. You see, we want to take this. We all have to think the same and be the same and act the same. Take it out. Let go. Love embraces differences. Love embraces differences. It doesn't say everybody has to think the same. This whole hyper woke sensitivity today is you have to think like me or I'm angry with you. It's like everybody's in a state of fight or flight all the time.
But there was one time, John, so my husband bought the wrong yogurt. It was 2% instead of 10% or vice versa. And I got so mad. And in my irrational mind, I had the right to tell him off like this. And in my mind at the moment, he was like the bad guy hurting me because of the yogurt. And that was the one time where he said how he felt without being in defense. He just said, you make me really, and the way he said it was so honest and open that that big bubble of ego just, whoosh, I was like, I felt so embarrassed. I fell to my knees, my head in his lap. I go, oh my God, because that whole, irrational ego that he did something wrong and I was the victim, it just evaporated with that honesty and vulnerability. So I really see it.
Honesty and not attack. He wasn't attacking you.
Yeah, and that's what I mean about sharing your feelings. If you're a guy that always shares your feeling, of course you don't want to hear about it. But if you never do it, there's nothing more sexy or hot to me than a man expressing his emotions when he never ever does it. It's like,
if he's not blaming and he's not defending, I do it. Anytime my partner's upset with me, I just hear it and tell me more. Well, okay. And then I just reflect and a tear comes to my eye. I didn't mean to upset you.
I
See, I'm not, but it's pure feminine side, but I didn't mean to upset you. Gosh, I didn't realize that.
I told
Or
my
I said, oh,
husband, listen to this, John.
so there is a place where women and it is the greatest thing to have a man be emotional when he's not blaming you or wanting you to change. There was freedom from that. There's no sense of manipulation and control. So
yeah,
there's the place, that's the higher level where I can be on my female side, but I'm fully on my male side. I'm not defending. I'm not
defending. You're not in your emotion.
I'm just being present with, oh my God.
I told him to say the words that women want to hear is, I understand you. And we were having this major fight and I didn't realize he was saying it to me. I didn't realize he was doing it. He said, so in the middle of the fight, he said, oh, okay, I understand. I never thought about it that way. But when you say it like that, then I understand you. That was my exact sentence. And we stopped having this huge fight and we were making love. And afterwards, I asked him, did you really mean it like that? He understood me. And he said, no. And it didn't matter. I just wanted to hear him say, I understand you. That's like the magic words.
So again, that's a word. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It depends where you're coming from. Because a lot of times guys want you to stop talking. I get it. I understand. Shut up.
No,
that doesn't work.
You just nod your head.
Very good. Yeah, it's all the basics of Men Are From Mars. She's talking.
I never thought about it that way, but when you put it that way, then I understand you. And I didn't realize he was doing it. And it worked.
It's a magic phrase. It's another. I didn't think of it that way.
When you put it like that, then it's the words like I want to stand under you.
Understand. I get it. I understand. I understand now. See, it's I understand now means you had an effect. He's able to, there's hope in that phrase, which is I understand now. It's like I've been stepping on your feet all this time and I didn't realize that hurts.
I understand our own feelings, John, and we so want to explain them and we don't understand them. And of course, he's never ever going to understand them.
That's right. I mean, basically, you hit on a few places where he's able to do the right thing, but we shouldn't be dependent on him being a master until he's been changed. The real, when it comes to emotions, emotional management for men, guys, okay, is if you're upset, as soon as you get angry, you should stop talking.
Yeah.
If he feels out of control. Now, when we talk about control, people think, oh, that's a bad thing. No, being in control of yourself means staying in your loving self.
Yes.
Okay. Once you're out of control, if you're a man, you're no longer loving. Now, for a woman, she doesn't have to be in control as much. She should be able to feel safe that she can just say whatever she thinks to a great extent. If a man can actually handle that, I could handle it, but it took a long time because I was in control always. I know she's just being crazy right now. I like crazy women.
Listen to me.
You talk to men, the best sex they've ever had is with a crazy woman. What does that mean? Crazy woman. It means emotional woman. I mean, the fact that you could explode in an argument means in bedroom, when given the right situation, you can explode into orgasmic bliss, which makes man feel like Superman. Mm-hmm. So this is a dynamic, but you see, in both cases, the estrogen levels are going really high. But what causes a woman to explode in a negative way is going to be remembered by the brain as a minefield. And so you stop feeling safe. You don't feel safe. So I remember once giving a talk about how men, you need to listen to women, give them a sense of validation and understanding. You don't always have to agree, but see it from their point of view, hear them, connect with them, relate to them in some way. It's hard for men to relate to a woman's feelings, but easy for him to relate to her emotions. Now, this is it. Most people don't know the difference between feelings and emotions. Feeling is a way of knowing my emotions. Feeling is a way of knowing sensation. Feeling is a way of knowing what I think. We call that intuition, a lower form of intuition. I feel is a way I know rather than I just simply experience. Now I'm going to feel my experience is sensation. I'm going to feel my thoughts and I'm going to feel my emotions. Then when you can feel your emotions, men will immediately connect with you. Just like when he shared that little emotion of vulnerability, you went in and had an orgasm like a man. I mean, you got to penetrate in.
Crazy situation just went down. It's like it was in between our connection was this big ego wound that's swollen up, and it just went and I could see him.
Because you felt not just the words, but he could actually get or understand what was going on inside of you without judging it. He validated your feeling. That's what women need today. But you can't have your feelings validated until you show your emotions. See, emotions are really key because there's not a lot of thinking that goes with them. So you can really have strong emotion, and he doesn't have to like logically explain to you that you don't need to feel that way. These feeling thoughts, you see these teenagers have it when they're starting to have some level of maturity of girls. They say, I feel like this, I feel like that, I feel everything. I feel like. And all of it is a superficial state. There's no vulnerability there. Yeah, vulnerability is we actually can feel, I love you. I'm happy to be with you. I'm grateful to be with you. I'm so appreciative of you. I'm so happy to see you. That's vulnerability, as well as I feel hurt by you. I feel scared to open up with you. I feel so disappointed. I'm sad. I wish it was more. I'm angry with you. That's also vulnerability. Vulnerability
from the younger. What made me be so irrational to yell at my husband for going to the grocery store and getting yogurt for some food that I was making?
Yeah, that's called just addiction to being irrational. Instead of permission to be. See, it's very different. If your emotions are a little crazy, that means you gave a great example of it. You don't want to feel crazy, so you have to justify it and make it reasonable. Yeah. Otherwise, you feel crazy. That's because you have a strong male side. The male side always has to have reasons for everything. And then the female side of us doesn't need reasons, just has emotions. I mean, haven't we ever heard of falling in love and you don't even know why you're in love? It's just there. It's a response. It's a reaction. And you're just so happy. Have you ever felt really happy and no reason? You know, just like suddenly I'm just so happy. What is it? The emotion. Somehow you felt safe to be yourself. And sometimes just exploding without somebody rejecting you afterwards actually makes you feel really good. But it's a bad habit. Just like a man can go watch porn and masturbate to a stranger, he's training his brain to not have experienced happiness and intimacy. This is the phenomena. These guys that do all this porn, they can't sustain attraction to their partners. And then they go on porn because it can turn them on. And then see, porn doesn't make a lot of estrogen. Loving someone makes a lot of estrogen. And if you don't have healthy testosterone, it pushes your testosterone down. We know statistically that single men have higher testosterone as soon as they get it. And generally speaking, as a general curve, their baseline tends to be higher, and it takes a drop when they get in a committed relationship. It takes another drop when they get married, and it takes another drop when they have children. Now, why would that be? Because all those things, commitment means I really care about her. She's special. I love her more than all the rest. And now I'm married to her because she's so special to me. And now we have children. We have a family. I love my children unconditionally. All that love stuff is estrogen. And too much estrogen in a man, a lot of estrogen in a man will tend to lower his testosterone unless he feels super successful. And that if he feels super successful, when I come home, I'm a hero. And when I come home, I'm not a hero. You forgot to call me. You didn't do this. Did you do that? Yeah. Boom, testosterone comes down, and the guy just says, I just want to zone out and watch TV. He just loses it so quickly, just as she has the power. And that's what vulnerability is. If I'm vulnerable to her, she has the power to make me happier. And if she's vulnerable to me, I have the power to make her happier. And at the same time, both partners, if you're vulnerable, they have the power to trigger your own insecurities more than anything else. Because getting naked with somebody and feeling pleasure and they're touching your body, this is all waking up all the feelings of childhood, goo-goo, baby, all that stuff. And children don't have a brain yet, and they overreact very easily, and they take things personally very easily. So you get having sex causes explosions. And so you say, I'm too vulnerable, I can't let you in, as opposed to, I feel safe to let you in. I feel safe to go in for a man that I will be appreciated. And I'll be motivated to do that. So I want to stay with the topic that you asked me to talk about, which is emotional management. There's so much I have to say about relationships. And I want to mention that one of the gifts that I have from this is marsvenus.com/gift. And if you just go to marsvenus.com,
There will be a link. I have a link.
you'll have a link. Okay. So it's a real practical course. You're asking questions. We're kind of all over the place, and that's okay. It's information, but I have a very systematic free course for women, single women, married women, single men, married men. It's different class. It's very specific, very helpful. And then for women, particularly learning how to ask for help and get it rather than complain. There's a whole course on that my daughter teaches called how to get your me time, which means how to be happy without depending on a man, and how to set boundaries in your relationship so you don't overgive, and how to get more. It's all combined in that one. So having said that, I just want people to know those resources are there. Now we're going to focus not so much on relationship skills. You asked me to talk about emotional management. So we have the foundation for it is to realize that emotions produce estrogen. And whenever a woman is unhappy or stressed in any way, overwhelmed, depressed, anxious, any of the negatives you can measure in her body is producing more testosterone than normal and less estrogen, or she's producing not enough progesterone. That's all mapped out in my book, Beyond Mars and Venus, Women's Estrogen, Progesterone, Testosterone Cycles. So that's a big subject. But the bottom line there is that estrogen is usually the big thing women are missing today. And estrogen is produced whenever you're depending on someone for something. Okay, so you're going on a romantic date and you're depending on him to be nice to you and take you somewhere fun where you don't have to worry about having to take care of anybody. That dependence creates estrogen. You go to a doctor's office, you feel, oh, I'm going to go talk to my doctor. That produces estrogen. And usually that's one of the reasons women get better, is just their hormones go more into balance when they feel they have someone they can go to for help. You can go to a therapist. In America, 90% of the people, there's more therapists than doctors and lawyers and whatever in America. And those therapists, 90% of the people that go to them are women. Why? Because they get to talk about their problems. Look at the history of women who used to be, you got pregnant all the time. You didn't have birth control that much. So you're pregnant, or you got little children, you're breastfeeding, and you're out at night to get some water in your village and you see a tiger. So what do? You see that tiger, you go back and tell everybody, okay, I got to tell other petty, alert, alarms go up, the loud, ring the bell. This is part of it, produces estrogen. And so men are going to go out and protect the women from the tiger. And so what do? They have to become quiet. Quietness. What did the Buddha teach? He taught meditation. Forget your problems. Don't worry about it. Minimize everything. Anything that's upsetting to me, I can easily rationally minimize it. It's not a big deal. There's nothing I can do about it. So forget it. If there's something I can do about it, I can't do it now. Postpone it till tomorrow. So no need to think about it now. I can think about it then. See, I rationalize everything away, and that's no problem. Then you think, well, how do you get your estrogen? Where do you get your emotion? I get it from my wife. My wife's full of estrogen because she feels safe to express the craziness inside. And I relate when I relate to her pain, when I relate to her frustration with caring, I'm now emotional, but there's no negative emotion. Men don't have to have negative emotion to be vulnerable. It's the vulnerability is I need to do the right thing and receive your love and feel good from it. And when you can't love me, not to make you wrong, but to know I have my cave time, I have my activities, I have my work, I have my friends, I have my prayer, I have my meditation, I have my sports, all those things rebuild my testosterone. Then with my relationship, I can have testosterone and bring the estrogen up through love and go to a higher level. When you get those two things balanced, you become happier, you become more successful through that intimacy. But women are the key. Because our world today is pushing women to the masculine side, men to the female side. We don't want to encourage men to be on their female side. Don't do what you like, do what you have to do. Men need to have purpose and meaning in their life. They feel that, and I do something meaningful. It took effort, it took concentration, it took being integrous, and then I got rewarded. You have to earn it on the male side to build testosterone. Then you can have a vacation. Then you can do what you like to balance it. Women, whenever you're unhappy, there's a little voice inside that says, I have to do this. I have to do this. Or then it turns into now he has to do this. He has to do this. No have to's. Get rid of them. They're all testosterone producing. They're all danger, reaction, fast. Come back to safety. Come back to doing what you like, doing what you love, and taking responsibility to be a loving woman. And what does that take? Well, now we can teach you how to do it. So this is called emotional management. Every time you're stressed, anytime you have a complaint, a criticism, get that you're not being loving. So you should apologize. You should feel bad. You easy. Oh, he didn't do this. He didn't do that. All that is just to justify you not being a loving person.
Yeah, bad
You want
behavior.
to be a loving person? Is your intention to be a loving person? Well, if my intention is to work hard and I don't work hard, what should I feel? I feel guilty. I feel bad. You should feel bad. Now, the next thing, I feel like one of those Christian
Admit that it's bad behavior. Complaining is bad behavior.
bad behavior,
Complaining
and
is
also
bad behavior.
anger. When
Yeah.
you're angry, you're not loving.
Yeah.
Now, here's the paradox. It takes an advanced mind to hold these two ideas.
Mhm.
When I'm angry at my partner, I'm not loving.
Mhm.
I'm also irrational, but I'm angry. So I need to listen myself to, I don't need to put it on him. I need to learn how to listen to it myself. Like there's a part of me that's not me, really. It's not who you are as loving, but there's a childlike part of you that when you don't understand things, or when you're in stress, you go into childlike part or monkey part, however you want to look at it. You don't have the higher intelligence to have a relationship. You're like an animal. As a matter of fact, whenever your husband's angry, I got a new phrase. My wife used to just say, "You're being mean. I don't want to talk to you," and walk out of the room. That's it. Don't talk anymore. If man's not respecting you, you're being mean. I'm out of the room. Don't say, "Don't talk to me that way." Now you're giving orders and you're not going to be heard. Just say, you can also do another one is, "You're a beast." It's almost like a compliment. I listen to Joe Rogan a lot, and I realized he is a beast. He goes out and kills beasts. So any man would like to be Joe Rogan to man's man. So he's a beast. Just say, "Honey, right now you're a beast," and walk out of the room. No judgment. Every man knows I want to be a beast.
But mine was never the angry one. He was like Buddha. I used to call him my Buddha. So he's like,
yeah. Well, he made it safe for you to have a bad habit, basically. And a bad habit is when you're angry and you express it as a woman, it produces estrogen, it raises dopamine. It's a little bit like cocaine. Complaining, whether it be with emotion or not, is a little bit like cocaine. And it's just not going to encourage your partner to feel successful.
Tell me to do coke instead.
Don't do coke instead, but learn how to raise your estrogen without there being danger. Danger will always raise your estrogen, but it also then raises your testosterone and you go out of balance. See, it's like if you're in danger, you say, hey guys, go kill the dragon. And there's no guys around to kill the dragon. Then you're going to pull out your sword and kill the dragon. And now you're the guy, but you're on your male side. That's not what your hormones need at that time. That's what romance is. It's feeling.
It's not my soul's essence. It's a big lie. It's not truly me. And that's
right. It's a part of you. It's a part of you. It's just not your body. My soul is both masculine and feminine. Okay. But it has the whole point of being here is incarnate the soul into this body, which means I have to acknowledge and respect the needs of my female side if you're a woman. And then from that place, I can now develop and express my male side. But when you go to the male side, because we don't have a culture that supports both, this is how you stay in your female side. You go to work, you do your things, your stress levels build up. Now you come back to your partner and you say, "Honey, I'd like to do a Venus talk." Or if you don't want to use jargon, that Venus talk is in my books. You say, "Honey, I want to talk about my day for only 10 minutes. And you don't need to say anything. I just need to get it out and process it. And so if I just speak it out, it'll be gone. You'll see, this is amazing. It will lower my stress levels because right now I'm all stressed. I need to come back to my emotions.
Yeah.
Okay. There's 4 levels of emotion. Anytime you're stressed, you have 4 levels of emotion: anger, sadness, fear, and guilt. Now, guilt could be shame. It could be regret. It can be sorrow. You can have anger. I'm angry about this. I could also feel outraged by this. I could also feel frustrated by this. Sadness is I can feel disappointed. If you're more in your head, you're disappointed. And then you come back to I'm sad. If you're angry, you might start, if you're not okay, most women are not okay. You're okay with it, but a lot of women aren't with their anger. You start with I'm frustrated. What you should do is whenever you're angry, say, "I'm frustrated," because at least that puts you back in the driver's seat a bit instead of feeling totally out of control with anger. So, but frustration, anger, it could be outraged. These are the emotions that are there whenever you're stressed. That's what's in there. And the stress does not go away until what can make that stress go away is you can fall into the illusion, if I change something in the outer world, then I'll be happy. That's still animal.
More stress because then we get to do more and fix more.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And men will do less and less if you try to change them. So learn to love them, and then they grow like a tree that's being watered. So the dynamic here is you're upset You use your partner to do something that we can do easily. You just have to ask for what you want. I just want you to listen. I don't want you to make any comments. I want to talk about my day, and everything I say, it's not about you. And that's your discipline, is the anger. When the only reason you got angry about the carton of milk is because there's 50 other things you're angry about that you don't even let yourself feel angry about. Okay, you can be pissed off. You're angry about this and this and this, but there's nothing you can do about it, so you forget it.
Thank you.
That means you're on your male side.
He's picking up too many things. He was being too nice, and I just wasn't used to that. You know, it was in the beginning of a relationship, and he was being too nice.
Okay, so what happens? That's a phenomena of wounded women, and you are wounded. So that's good. You're a great teacher, the wounded healer. So, yeah. But when a man is really nice, this is very interesting. If a man is dominant and not nice, it makes women submissive if they want to survive. It pushes this submissive part. But if a man's really nice, what that does, it makes it safe for you to feel what you feel. And what you have is built up rage, okay, outrage. And so it just comes out. It will come out. Anybody who has, this is what happens to movie stars, for example. Suddenly in a day, everybody loves them. They're bigger than life. And so they feel real, oh, I'm great, I'm wonderful. And then they become arrogant and they become drug addicted. They throw tantrums, it's the whole phenomenon of the diva thing. Everybody's throwing flowers at you and now you're upset about everything, every little thing, become hyper compulsive. So this is love, brings up everything inside yourself. So that's good. You get triggered, then you have to have the understanding that if I'm angry, I'm not being loving, I'm overreacting. And that overreaction is keeping me from feeling the authentic self, who I really am, is loving and happy and fulfilled and grateful and confident and all those good things. That's who you are. When you're not feeling that, you're not you. So we call that the inner child. We can call it the monkey reactions. We can call it your conditioning, automatic reactions, a lot of names for it. And where I'm focusing, and all good techniques to deal with that, without a doubt. But what we have to understand is that this is your female side. Men, if they're going to process their feelings, should not do it with their wife. Women can do it, and they shouldn't be about their husband. See, these are key things you have to learn. Now, I have women in my seminars come up and I say, okay, I'm going to come process a woman, help you get in touch with your feelings. And then she comes on stage and I say, okay, so what upsets you other than your husband? And then she says, it's just like a big joke. She says, well, my life is wonderful. Everything's great except my husband. And then I say, oh, really? What do? You have a job? Oh, yeah, I'm very successful. And I said, oh, really? What do you do? She said, well, I own 5 restaurants. And do you manage them? She says, oh, yeah, every day I manage them. And I said, well, right now, there's a lot of, the economy is dropping. This was a time when the economy is going down. Do you have to fire people? She says, yeah. I says, well, is that easy? She says, it's what you have to do. And I said, well, you might have to close a restaurant because not enough money. One of my restaurants probably gonna have to close it. And how do you feel about that? There's nothing I can do about it. You see, that's the male side where you rationalize away emotions. So you don't even know you're emotional, but it's in there. It's causing adrenaline, it's causing stress, it's causing cortisol because you're not expressing, and you can't spend all day expressing emotions. That would make you not a good leader. Everybody's gonna go, who's the whiny baby here? And so it builds up. And as soon as it's 2 things, it's now more irrational. Then it's another thing and another, it's 10 things. Something that should upset you like a little frustration now becomes outrage. How dare you? That's our younger generation today. How dare you not use pronouns with me? I feel so insulted. What do you mean I have to be a man if I'm a man and I'm a woman? I'm a woman. How dare you? Okay. It's imbalance inside of ourselves. Since hypersensitivity is another problem. Okay, but what you have to do is train yourself to be authentically in touch with what your emotions are. And for you, it starts out with anger. So you go, okay, I'm angry. So you can start out writing it down, or you can talk to your husband. Oh, today, what are a few things that happened today that make me feel angry? And then as soon as you're angry, then you could also, some women just like, what happened today that was a little bit frustrating? I said, well, this was frustrating. Oh, that must have been frustrating. Yes, tell me more about that. And then they'll actually get to, and I'm angry about that. I said, I'd be angry too. Okay. Then you go to disappointment, and always underneath anger and frustration and outrage, underneath that is disappointment. Something didn't happen that you wanted to happen. That's called a whole new level of awareness. Is anytime I'm upset about something, there's something I expected to happen that didn't happen.
Expectation is the root of all evil.
Expectation.
Take
So,
that out of the
so
equation.
now I have to look at, okay, what happened that I don't like? Now what didn't happen? Now that reveals my expectation. So I have I am a bit disappointed about this and what else. And yeah, really tell me more. And then you might, I'm really sad, you know, I'm not getting what I deserve at work, you know, or I had to wait all the time. It made me sad. And so it's just temporary. Just touch into those emotions. I'm telling you, anytime you're stressed, you've got to feel all four. That's the first stage. That's looking at yourself. You can't be angry if you're not afraid. You can't be angry if you're not disappointed.
Yeah.
So if you're disappointed, if that's painful to you, or if you're angry and that's painful to you, you're also afraid. And fear. See, if I'm not afraid, then why would I ever be angry? There's nothing to be angry about.
We can't live together when you.
Yeah, it's like the fear of not being loved is what it really comes down to. The fear of not being heard, the fear of not being safe, the fear of being disrespected. So the fears are there. Concerns, you can start, well, tell me some of your concerns. Because a lot of women, I say, well, what are your fears? I don't have any fears. I'm an executive woman. I say, okay, what are some of your concerns you had today? Tell me. What are your concerns? And everybody has concerns that motivates all of our behavior. Well, I'm concerned we're not going to sell this person. I can't do this. I'm concerned the economy is going down. I'm concerned they're wanting to shoot everybody up. I'm concerned the world's going crazy. You know, a lot to be stressed about today. So then I'm concerned. Now you start to open up the vulnerability. What are you afraid of?
Yeah.
And acknowledge these can be totally irrational. You see, we're so rational now that we can't go to those emotions. And then when they build up and come out, we have to make them rational instead of recognizing they're irrational. There's no reason to ever be upset. Fear is forgetting everything's all right.
Yeah,
fear is forgetting everything's all right.
It exists. It's just something we make up that doesn't happen. It doesn't exist.
Amazing. So and there's reasons to have, you know, I'm concerned about this and this, and you're not stressed, then that's a good concern to have. Okay. Don't need to be afraid, but if you're afraid, boom, you're in stress. You can have natural concern. Okay. So, but you're stressed, you're not happy. Then when you look in those emotions, they need to be irrational because you're trying to say, well, what am I? Well, I'm not really afraid of that. Well, I'm not really afraid of that. That's because you're trying to be rational while we're trying to be emotional.
Yeah.
Go into the emotions and listen to what you actually feel inside. And that's called being vulnerable. And then always underneath fear, you can't be afraid unless there's a part of you that feels inadequate, unworthy, because you didn't do something right. Always that's a part of inside of us, but it's hard to get to that. You have to work at this. And so in the beginning, it might just be, well, the fourth level is, well, what do you feel embarrassed about? This talk I'm giving to you or anytime, I always feel a little embarrassed. I can't go through the day without being embarrassed. My wife makes jokes about me. I'll just say ridiculous things sometimes, just comes out of me. It would not be appropriate. One time there was this movie star that lives in our neighborhood and she recognized me and we're talking and I was teaching these classes at my ranch at that time. And I said, well, you should come to my ranch sometime. And she says, but what about the whole celebrity thing? And I said, oh, nobody will recognize you. I won't tell him. I realized I put my foot in my mouth. So I have a lot to be embarrassed about. Today, I can look back on my talk today and say, oh, John, you know, you completely blew it when you forgot that thing Lauren taught about the lunch menu thing, you know. It's like, and part of why I forgot it is because it's not something I came up with. I tend to only remember what I come up with. And I'm not remembering, I'm just speaking my wisdom. Yeah, this is 50 years of knowledge. So once you're to practice this, it's like writing it down, but only 2 minutes at the most on these 4 levels of emotion. Don't dwell in them. You know, often people get stuck in anger. So you can't get out of an emotion. One challenge is to get out of emotion because you don't know where you need to go. You can't just go right from angry and I come back to love and forgiveness. So you go to another negative emotion and they're there. And then you go to another negative emotion and then you go to the other one. Now you see the whole picture or part of the whole picture. It's kind of like if you look at my thermos, we looked at this side of the stress, this side of the stress, this side of stress, this. Now you got to get under it, which is why you're stressed in the first place. Unrealistic expectations. I guess I expect too much. Everybody's supposed to be perfect. I can't get what I want when I want it. Just look at these foolish expectations we have. Yeah. If not meeting an expectation makes you unhappy, it's because your expectation is unrealistic. And you can make it more realistic and change your behavior. But my unrealistic expectation, what is it I really wish? What is it I really want? And what is it I really need? And you don't have to do all three.
That's all I want. And my trigger was to feel like a failure at love. I just,
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah,
That,
yeah. So
and then a big
underneath all of that,
expectation to
see,
hit that.
all negative emotion is an unrealistic expectation combined with what it is you want. And then you can adjust your wants to what's realistic. But you first just give free rein to feel what I really want, what I really wish,
You're loving
what I
what-
need most. Now you're bringing yourself back to sanity, starting to, and then what you do is you analyze, you say, so what's the most negative, painful thought I have right now? Okay. And usually it's like, I'm alone. I'm not good enough.
not love.
I'll never get what I want. Other people get it. I don't. I'm jinxed. There's always some negative belief that you get back to very easily. And you know, what's interesting for me, almost always just for me, if I'm upset, it always comes back to, oh, I feel alone. Because one of my big traumas as a little boy was losing my mother at a young age, not getting lost and
Yeah.
being away for a week. That's a big trauma. And when I learned that, and so everything comes back to that. So for me, the negative thought, whenever anything's upsetting me, is I'm alone. And so I just feel that. And sometimes I feel I don't feel good enough, or I'll never get what I want. There's some belief in there that becomes easily noticed as a release. It's like, once you got the negative emotion out, then what's the pain point? It's like the pain point. What's really the painful thing right now that I'm telling myself? And then what's the opposite of that? Just go, I'm alone. And then you just say, okay, the truth is, I'm not alone. I'm loved and supported. I'm good enough just the way I am.
Yeah.
So what my pain point is, and then the truth is, or what I know now, that was from when I was a child, but what I know now is I am good enough. I'm a strong man. I deserve to be loved. I'm capable. I'm successful. Many people love me. And so what? Everybody, some people don't. So then you can start being reasonable. Now, to finish it off, you say, what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful to have this conversation with you. I'm grateful for the beautiful weather today. I'm grateful to have the love of my life for 34 years. I'm grateful for my beautiful family. I'm grateful for the abundance that I experienced in my life. I'm grateful for, go on and on. So some things are profound. It doesn't matter. Just, I'm grateful I have this job. I'm really glad to have the job. Because if you're complaining about your job to your husband, it's good to throw in there, I'm grateful for my job, because he's going to turn around and say, well, you should quit that job. He's not allowed to speak. Remember, you're going from the negative emotions to what you want, to a positive belief, then to what your positive emotions are, which is, I'm grateful for this. I'm happy because of this. I'm happy, grateful, and I'm excited. That means I'm back to what I want, and I believe I can have it. And I'm excited and I'm proud. Oh, if you can get back to excitement and pride, get back to gratitude and happiness, a man will feel like, hey, I got a great wife here. It's amazing. What more can I do? I want to be on the positive list for her. It motivates him. And he didn't do anything except tell me more, help me understand that better. And you, as a woman, have to learn how to process those feelings without depending on him to be an expert therapist like me or my Mars Venus coaches. Remember, I have a Mars Venus coaching program. Anybody can learn to master this in our 1-year program. But it's learning to master what I call the Venus talk. And so, if somebody wants to call, we give a free session for anybody. Just want women to know that. And just call Rich at marsvenuscoaching.com.
I'll have a link.
Just say, John said I can have a free Mars Venus coaching session and I want a Venus talk. You have to say, I want a Venus talk, because they do all kinds of stuff. But that's what women need to know most, is how to do a Venus talk. Once you know how, you can do it in writing. You can also do it with a friend, a woman friend. If you think your husband's not ready for this, maybe he's not. So you practice with a woman, and you do this several times a week. And you become so good at it. Anything that's upsetting you, if you have a negative thought about your husband, just let it go. Realize you're displacing what's upsetting you at other places in your life. You're putting onto him, or you're displacing issues from your childhood onto him. And that's what will happen if you have sex with a man. It will all start coming up. And eventually you lose interest in sex because you don't want to feel those feelings. And so suddenly he pulls away, you pull away. And that's not the only reason you lose interest in sex. It's also, he basically could have become lazy, lack of masculinity, lack of high testosterone, because the research shows that when a man's testosterone goes above his normal testosterone level, he puts out pheromones that raise a woman's estrogen. And when a woman's estrogen goes higher than the normal level, it will raise testosterone in men. We become reciprocal. And we don't have to fight to get there, but we can have safety to get there. And I remember when I was teaching in South America with this sort of macho, one of the countries very macho, and I was talking about how men can ask questions, be romantic, be affectionate, be kind, listen more. And if you're angry, either ask more questions and get out of it, or take a time out, never to be mean, never to hit her, never to be violent. And this guy stood up and said,
What I said about the kids. Remember, you can't hit them. You can't hit them.
Can't hit. That's right. That's right. A guy stood up and said, he stood up and he said, remember, this is a macho country. He said, John, you're saying everything we've been taught doesn't work. They don't respect you unless you slap them around. And that's God, when women have such low self-esteem. And I said to the audience, I said, is anybody upset about what he just said? And they went, no. This is what this macho behavior turns women on, because when a woman feels
a little bit, it worked a little bit on me, but
it does. It does. But it destroys relationships over time. It won't sustain it. And it basically, there's a place in sex as well where intensity does cause more pleasure. I even tell people, if you're depending on negative messages, or depending on punishing your partner, causing pain in them, then it's because sex became boring. And you have to intensify it, then you're having sex for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
Sex needs to be, the purpose is to make love. And whenever you feel, it's kind of like, I want to find another orifice to go in. I want to do something else to intensify. That just means I hit a plateau. So when you hit a plateau, you slow down and you feel the love in your heart. You say loving things to your partner, or you make loud noises because it's intense. But basically,
I can never look at another monkey after that story.
That's right. But I wrote a book, Mars, Venus in the Bedroom, and I have learned things since I wrote that book. And one of the things I regret saying is that generally men don't speak during sex. And what I should have been saying is why men often don't speak during sex is they're afraid of being in a conversation. Then the blood flow goes to the brain and not to the penis. So you can quickly lose your erection if you talk too much.
They're always getting told off when they open their mouth, right?
That's right. That's right. Maybe not always, but
yeah, because why? Because he gets.
But what we have to do is establish love languages. And it's, I love you. I'll never leave you. You're the most beautiful. You're the only woman for me. You can actually use loving statements to give her reassurance. And then when you get really to the deeper levels of intimacy, then you make animal sounds. I wasn't at that level, I guess, then. And when I wrote that book,
I remember
it's like, I become like a lion roaring. I guess other men have other animal sounds, but you're really getting back to the very, very primitive part of you. And at the same time, you're in the highest part of you, which is only increasing sensation to feel the love that's in your heart. And that's why sex is so great, is because it's pleasurable. When you have pleasure, you feel, and for a man, that becomes the major door to open his heart. See, for men, it's like we have to be desensitive, and testosterone is insensitive. Testosterone is, you can't hurt me. You see these kung fu movies are pounding on guys, they learn to become totally pain-free when they do that, knock them down, whatever. One blow to me, the first fight I got into as a teenager, I hit the guy in the face, and my hand hurt. I went, ow, do you want to do this? But I wasn't that tough. Toughening up, that builds testosterone. And it's also how men's, you have to toughen up to walk into battle. You have to toughen up to go out and go face danger.
We need to make love with our husbands. That's a very good point.
But it's the touching a woman that softens us while we're still tough. You see, we connect with our femininity through loving a woman. We connect with our femininity through listening to her. And when she becomes vulnerable, we become vulnerable. And what that looks like for a man is to feel compassion, to feel empathy, to feel selfless. That's his vulnerability, is that I'm willing to give up everything for you. And why it's vulnerable is it has risks to do. I'm trying really hard and I get nothing for it. Then you shut down. The vulnerability is to take a risk to give more. And because if you don't get more, if you don't get a reward for it, you don't get acknowledgement for it, it hurts you. You feel like a failure. You feel like not good enough. It triggers your inside stuff. So failure will trigger your stuff, but also success will as well. This is the paradox of life, is that when you're successful, your stuff from the past will come up. Anything that you repress because you didn't feel successful or you didn't feel loved, as soon as you start feeling loved, then every memory, every experience which is stored in your body as tension. And I'm an amazing, energetic guy at 70 years old, but I still got work to do because I get a sore neck sometimes. It's like life is a pain in the neck. You listen to the news, you see how stupid people are. I mean, this is like it's like, who are these people? They're idiots. And yet, I feel frustrated. Then I go disappointed. The world could be a different way. And then I feel afraid that maybe bad things will happen to me by these people. And I can't speak up and say what I think. And then, because, when I talk about gender right now, I'm the bad guy. I'm a sexist. I got, how people are being canceled now in America. I don't know about there. You get canceled. I was canceled in the year 2000 after I was pronounced the most influential book of the last decade, the #1 best-selling book in the world, combined to all books.
You got canceled.
Nonfiction, paperback, whatever. It was massive. The sales of Men Are From Mars, they still out there. I'm still
What does it mean
all around the world. But what that did, it made me the gender expert. At that time in 2000, I got canceled. I used to be on every single talk show. I used to be on every news show, CNN, NBC, all of them. I was a darling. Everybody wanted it. And then suddenly they cut me off. I mean, in one day. It was just like today, people being canceled on the internet. I was canceled from national TV. And that was okay. I didn't need to, I got plenty enough. I'm not great. I'm not upset about it. And it's right now, if you talk about gender difference, you're a sexist and people say bad things about you and get outraged about you. And even when I wrote the book back in the 90s and people weren't yet in the cancel culture, I still got death threats. I got death threats. I had to have bodyguards in certain places. That's crazy because I'm not the agenda. You have to realize there's a narrative to create division in the world. We have black and white, man and woman. Now we got gays and not white. It's a whole thing is to separate people. It's a narrative of evil people. And then there's other people who want to bring us all together.
John, that's so beautiful. I'm speechless. Thank you. It really landed an important message at the end. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. A real pleasure to be with you.
Wow. Thank you so much for spilling all your wisdom with me and the women watching. And you're going to be on the first day of the show. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
That's it. I don't know what to say. I'm speechless. You made me speechless.
Thank you. That's good enough. I'm grateful. I'm happy. I'm excited. And I'm proud.
It's an honor. I hope to see you in real life sometime. I do know.
Yeah, that'd be great. I thought maybe we do it today, but we can do it another time. I'll process you on video where both people will see me help you go through your levels of emotion.
That's what I just did it in another interview a few interviews ago that I did today. It turned out to be a live session. It was great.
Yeah. Like a live session. Yeah. Well, you've already done it, but it's I hope we gave the message that when we have anger and upset, it's our job to let it go. And then our partner will actually automatically change.
Thank you, John. I will take you up on that. It's been recorded. Everybody's witnessed it, so you can't go back on your.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, John. Thanks. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Bye.
You're welcome.